Hello and welcome to day 7 of our confidence series. Today we're going to talk about something that's incredibly emotive for athletes, and that's selection. It doesn't matter what sport you're in, at some point you're going to always have to deal with selection. Whether that's selection to play each week, whether that's selection to be on the team, or that's positional selection. The reality is an athlete will have to deal with selection in their performance at some point. There are a few characteristics that are really synonymous with athletes, and a couple of those behavioural characteristics predominantly is around control and knowing what's going to happen. And both of those appear to be at odds with being selected, because we tend to think it's a selection team or a coach who has complete control over how you turn up and if you can play or perform. But what I want to talk about today for athletes is there's a lot that you can do when we're talking about selection. And there's an aspect of your preparation that you already do that will either dictate whether you do or don't get selected. So when we think that a coach or a selection team have the ultimate say over how we're going to turn up, whether we're going to play or we're not going to play, whether we're going to be sitting on the bench or we're going to be watching from the stadium, then what we tend to do as athletes is we try to become this chameleon. What I mean by that is we try to morph into what we think that the coach or the selection criteria team, what they're looking for. That becomes really difficult at a high level for athletes. If you're trying to morph and change how you prepare, how you perform, how you turn up each time, the likelihood of you being the best version of you is minimized. So it's always a position where you're trying to chase down the coach's criteria, if you even know what that is. Being part of selection teams and on selection boards a few times, there are a few things that are really, it's very fluid. A lot's going on at the time, and more often than not, what the coach sets out at the start of the week of how they want to play often changes. So selecting a team is such a fluid part of the process for a coach and for a selection team. So for an athlete to try and assume they know and then change, it's almost impossible. But there are some commonalities that almost all selection teams and head coaches are looking for. And these are things that you as an athlete have full control over. So the number one thing that a selection team or a coach is looking for in an athlete is the ability to actually do the skills. So where we've talked before about that blueprint inside your brain, that way that you can turn up and you've got that skill acquisition, that skill retention process, then that is in your control. If you can make sure that you have that skill base, oh, it's a bit windy, sorry guys, and you can make sure you have that skill base and the coach is going to get exactly what they need out of you, the best version of you, then everybody's going to benefit from that. So you do have control over that, how you learn skills and the way that you can perform those skills. So we've talked over the last 5 days a lot about the consistency in performance. This again is another area that selection teams and head coaches are looking for. They want to know that it's not just a one-off thing. You can turn up each week and every week and perform. They also want to know you can perform under pressure. So managing our emotions, making sure we got those triggers to perform, making sure our blueprints are super clear inside our mind and we trust them, are all things you as an athlete can control. So already we're starting to see there's things that you have full control over in your performance that you initially probably thought the coach had full control over. Another thing we want to make sure that we are incorporating into our strategy as an athlete to make sure we can be selected is that consistency. Consistency for selectors, if they know that you're going to go out and you're going to perform each week, they know how you're going to perform, they know how you're going to respond to pressure, they know how you're going to respond to the opponents, then you become a known entity to that selector. All of a sudden, you're less of a risk and you're more of an asset. So the way that you turn up, the way that you perform, the way that you build that consistency into everything that you do is you're now creating an identity as a performer that the coach and the selection team can rely on. There are going to be times, however, where you don't get selected. And when you don't get selected, you want to be an awesome communicator. Because what you want to be able to do is have a conversation with the coach or the selection team and say, okay, these are the key things I've been focusing on. What do you need me to do that's different or more or in a specific way? So we talk about symbiotic versus parasitic relationships. And a parasitic relationship is where it's one-way street. I want you to do this, you need to do that, this is how I want it has to be. And it's a conversation I have with coaches frequently, that what we want is a symbiotic relationship, which is, this is what I need from you, what do you need from me? When it's a mutually beneficial relationship like that, you'll find people are way more committed to their performance. They're way more committed to doing what they need to do to be the best version of them. As I said, the best version of you as an athlete, everybody is going to benefit from. So if you're a coach and you're watching this, it's important that if you do not select an athlete, that they know why. They know what they're doing really, really well. They know what you're looking for, and they know exactly what you are asking them to do that's different. You also, as an athlete, you need to know exactly what the coach is looking for. You want to know exactly what their athlete is looking for and know what the coach is looking for. So it's a symbiotic relationship. This is what I need from you, what do you need from me? Ultimately, what we're trying to create inside an athlete is an internally referenced athlete. This allows them to build control, allows them to build confidence. So an internally referenced person is somebody who turns around and says, yeah, I know exactly what I need to do. I know what I've got. I know how to do it. And they believe in that and they trust in that. An externally referenced person is somebody who's always looking for the external ratification. They're looking for somebody to tell them that you need to do this, this is how you need to turn up. And we see that frequently in athletes where they become this highly externally referenced person and performer. That creates doubts. That creates vulnerability. And when you create vulnerability in an athlete, they don't trust their performance, they don't trust their preparation, you end up with a really inconsistent athlete. So if we're going to manage the athlete and get the most out of them, then we've got to help them build trust. Part of that is the athlete, you've got to trust yourself, you've got to trust your process. Part of that is our coaching stuff. We've got to make sure that they are really clear and they know exactly what they're doing really, really well, and what they're not working on, and what's not working for them and what they need to work on. So when we talk about being selected, if we give up control as an athlete to the coach and just turn and say, you just tell me what you want from me, coach, and I'll try and catch up and I'll try and be that, the likelihood of you performing is very low. If you turn around to your coach and go, right, what are we aiming towards? What are my skill sets that got me here in the first place, that got me part of the even being thought about being selected? Now, what do I need to add to my process, my performance, my strategies? If we can create that collaboration, what we end up with is a more rounded, a more resilient, and a more robust athlete. So, selection, athletes, you have way more control than you thought you did. Coaches, you have a way bigger communication protocol than you probably thought you did. And parents, when we're thinking about an athlete who is ultra concerned, worried, anxious about, are they going to be selected, are they going to be good enough, what do the coaches want, then we need to encourage the athlete to be good communicators, to go and ask, to be clear. So we're going to build a good athlete who knows exactly what they need to do in preparation, and they need to know exactly what's required of them. Hope this has been beneficial for you. It's a really highly emotive topic, and both for athletes and for coaches and for parents. Everybody is looking to be judged on, are they good enough? Humans are pack animals. Where we fit in that pack is super important and valuable to all of us. It's 7 days away until we've got our live Performing Confidence free workshop. That's next Sunday. So there'll be a link below. Make sure you register, make sure you save your space. I'll be back tomorrow, and we're going to deal with conflict. And we're going to deal with conflict in teams, we're going to deal with conflict between athletes and coaches, and we're going to deal with conflict between peers, competitors. So tomorrow's going to be a really spicy subject. Make sure you tune in. I look forward to seeing you then. Have a great day.